Okay, let's take a peek at this carburetor a little bit closer. Like I said, there's not a whole lot to this. Little rubber boot there for the breather. Big thing that we want to take a look at right now is, let's pull that main jet out. So let's count the turns to seated. There's 1/2, 1, 1.5, 1.5. I usually write it down. Memory is the second shortest thing I have. I don't remember what the first is. So we'll pull that needle out. See how that looks. That needle seems to be in fairly decent shape. It's clean. Looking down inside, doesn't look too bad. Grab my little hook here. That's my heater is running. Gotta have heat in Minnesota when it's the end of November. Our little brass washer, and then there's a rubber O-ring in here. Kind of amazing what you create for tools as you're doing these kinds of things. You find little tips and tricks that make life a little easier, or in this case, a little more difficult. Tools probably started their life off as something different. They transformed into what they are today because you needed something to do a special job. There's that O-ring. Doesn't have a lot of life left in that. I think I've got some. If not, I'll have to order a kit for this. And let's pull that main jet loose. That's a 1/2-inch nut on there. And so we can take a peek down inside of that. Should be clean. There's not a whole lot there to be plugged up. As we look down inside there, you'll see that there's a brass fitting down in there with a slotted head on that. That's our jet. We can take that out. We want to be really careful so that we don't strip that. If it doesn't come out easy, it probably isn't going to come out. This one turned out pretty nice. We'll take him out of there. One thing I've always kind of learned over the years too is be prepared for springs in the darndest places. So if you think that there might not be a spring there, there might be. Okay. So this looks pretty good. There is a hole in there. It does appear to be fairly clean. I got a set of tip cleaners here. We'll see if we can run a tip cleaner through there. That's good. We don't want to drag that through there too much and cause any damage to the brass itself. Then we can look down inside. See if I can get the light on here just right. And you should be able to see that there's two small holes in the bottom there. Those should be clean. There's also a slotted screw in there, so we can try to take that out again. Like I said, if these don't come out easy, don't force them. This one isn't brass. I'm going to get a different screwdriver. A lot of the guys I used to work with, they would use gunsmithing screwdrivers. They seemed to fit really well and were a little bit more precision, had a little thicker. There, it slid in there. Nope. I'm not going to try to take him out of there. In fact, let's just run a tip cleaner through here quick. That one goes right through. That's good. It goes up. You can see it bumped on the throttle even when we moved that. The choke is free. You can see that mechanism there. That choke is nice and lubricated. It's working really well. The throttle itself, that's free, which is surprising. I am going to open up and take a look at this fuel pump, if we can get the screws out, which so far has been going. Oh yeah, that's nice. It'll pop right out of there. There's one. There's four of these little doubles on there. Two. Three. And number 4. Okay, now I'm going to be real ginger with this, gentle if we can, so as not to damage that diaphragm that's inside of there. There we go. Nice and easy. Work it a little bit. Don't rush it, don't just tear it off. You may be able to reuse it if it's not in too tough a shape. Okay. So there's that diaphragm. There's two little check valves here. Here and here. And then that's where the spring goes for the pump. And you can see that there's a small space in there for where the fuel will be pumped in. This doesn't feel too bad. It might have some life left in it. Here's that spring and collar that operates that fuel pump. The collar and the spring there. Then if we just look down inside there, we can see how that moves that fuel through that carburetor, and how the air moves in with it. That's all part of the jetting system and the Venturi system that's within this. So there's some surface rust on here, but for the most part, that carburetor looks really good. I was going to throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner, but I don't think we need to as quick as it is. One thing to just kind of note too, with the fill pipes here, or the fuel pipes, you know, they look like there's a way that you can remove these. I wouldn't recommend it. Usually this one here, you'll snap off. This longer one, it'll crack in here, and you'll have a heck of a time getting that to seal up. So try to leave that in place if you can. I'm going to see if I can't get by with reusing this gasket on the fuel tank too. So let's go ahead and put this all back together. Let's take a peek and see if we missed anything. I guess before I get too excited and put it all back together, there's not much there. The intake gasket doesn't look in too tough a shape either. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some carb cleaner here and spray some of that gunk out of there. Move through some of these holes, these jets. Okay, let's see if we can clean that spring off just a little bit. We can reinstall this. Now, some people might argue with me and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't have done that, you shouldn't have sprayed carb cleaner in there, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that, but I did. So the nice thing with these is there's only one way to put it back together. So you've got an index stud here that only lets you place the diaphragm and the cover back on in one way. So you don't have to worry about making sure that it's on exactly the same way it came off. There is only one way to put it back on. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish reassembling this. These little screws on here too, just snug them down and just tight. Don't get wild with them. So there's that. Let's reinsert the make sure that, I think I ran a cleaner through there, but we'll run another one through there just in case. That looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and finish assembling this, and we'll be back.